What is good, guys? It's Ray J back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down some very important information about the markets, how the markets are starting to turn a bit right now, but also some important supports to watch for on Tesla, SPY, Nvidia, and the QQQ, and just to see how the market is looking and just to understand how price action may continue as time goes on. But before I break these up, all this information, before I talk about what's going on with these important levels and the big test coming out for Tesla, SPY, and all these tickers, let me just mention a couple of things. I'm personally not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Webull link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Webull, the link down below, and deposit any amount of money into the account, you are guaranteed up to 12 free stocks. Now, this offer ends in just about 7 days from now, so check it out before they run out. Anyways, let's break down what's going on with the market. So, the market has got a very nice pump to start us off. We saw Tesla pump to 222. We saw SPY pump very nicely to almost 425. But now the market is trying to turn similar to how it did yesterday. So, going to be some key levels to watch for in SPY, Tesla, and all these tickers. I'm going to be talking about those over the next couple of minutes. And also, I want to call out this piece of data that's coming out. So, the 2-year note auction is coming out at 1 p.m. Eastern time for today. Now, this is going to be very important. This could cause the market to move in one direction or the other, so just be very careful. I'm going to be watching to see what this is. If it's a little bit harder than expected, this could be cooling off the market a bit. If it's lower than expected, it could cause the market to just kind of stay within its ranges. So we'll be watching for this. But I want to call out something very important that's going on in the markets, and that is as we're curling a bit, we're just barely holding on to some key supports. So on the 5-minute time frame, Tesla has its 200 EMA at this 215.61 area. I would say it's a little bit closer to this 215 range. That's going to be even more important. If Tesla loses 215, okay, we're going to likely see Tesla sink all the way down to 212 to fill this gap down here if we end up losing that level. So watch this gap down here. We could see Tesla sink with the market back down to 212 and even lower levels if we continue to, slide and we continue to see these levels break. But if we manage to continue to hold it, there is potential for this thing to try to hold up and try to make its way back up to 218. But the market has been curling. It's looking like it's weakening a bit, so there's a good chance that we might end up breaking down. But just to be safe, watch these levels for confirmation. Now, I also wanted to add that even if we do break down, even if Tesla retests 212, okay, it is going to be fine because this inverse head and shoulders could still be valid as long as Tesla holds around this 210 area, which is where I think some buyers could try to step in. But there is a risk of downside looking at the current trend in the market. I just wanted to warn you about that. Now, as far as the levels go for Tesla specifically, okay, we're currently at this 218 area, 217, 218. If you want to be really bullish, you want to see this break and hold 218 for an extended period of time, and we could see it try to get close to 220. And if you break this, you're going to be watching 222.5 or very close to 222. If we break that, then 225 is a possibility. But if Tesla ends up breaking down, we have critical support for the day around this 215 area. If we lose 215 for today, there's a good chance it's going to come down to like 212 to fill this gap down here. And if it does drop down there, there's some nice support at 212, which is historical support. And also 210 and 208 are going to be the next two supports to be watching for. There's a risk of the downside looking at the current trend, but just be careful and then wait and see what happens at 1 p.m. when the 2-year note auction comes out. As far as SPY goes, we're seeing something very similar developing. So on SPY's chart, I'm going to pull it up right here. We're currently at 423. Now, this trend to the upside, if we do end up breaking this high at 424.8, we could see the market try to push up higher, and we could see like 426 as the next level, but that is looking a little less likely since the market has weakened a bit. We're going to be watching how the auctions end up affecting this chart. Now, I also wanted to add that the 4-hour is still just trying to hold up, but it's not super bullish or super bearish yet. But on the 5-minute time frame, we have a critical level to watch for. So we're going to be watching 422.5. We have to hold above this. If we lose 422.5 on SPY, it's going to come all the way down to 421 because we have this gap all the way down here. It actually could take us very close to the 420. So I can actually see this come down to like 420.5 or so. If we lose 422.5, that's going to be very key. If we continue to hold above it, we need to see this thing try to break and hold 423.5. If it achieves that, it could be retesting 424.1. And And if that breaks, if we break the 424 area, it could try to push up towards the high of the day. But for now, it's looking a little weaker. We're starting to see our MACD curl, and we're starting to see it's just testing 423 as resistance. So we're going to be watching this very carefully to see which way it breaks. But just know there's a risk of downside when you look at the 30 minutes time frame based off what it's showing us. And let me just bring up the extended hours just to show you. The 30 minutes looking a little weaker, so we're going to be watching that very carefully. On top of all of this, we have Apple, which is looking a little weaker too. Apple made an attempt to bounce during the pre-market, but then it came back down. And we managed to hold 172, and we kind of just chopped around for most of today. So it's very simple. If Apple loses 172, we're going to be watching Apple come down to 170, which could slow the market down lower. If we manage to hold above 173, we could push for 173.5 to potentially even 174 plus. But for now, Apple is looking like it's kind of like range bound, and it's not really doing a whole lot, but there is a risk of it breaking below 172 if that happens, especially after these auction pieces of data come out. So we're going to be watching this very carefully. If Apple loses that, that's going to sink the market down. So make sure you watch that very carefully. Right now, it looks like it could try to retest 173, very close to the 20 EMA, but it's not quite there yet. So we're going to be very, very patient with this. Now, looking at the QQQ, this is also looking very flat. We're barely holding above our support at 358. But if we lose 357.5, that's going to be the key support of the day. It's going to come very close to 355, most likely to fill this gap at 356, and it could continue to drop to support at 355. So watch 357.5, as our key support. If we lose that, we're going to turn bearish. If we manage to hold it, we also want to hold above 358.38, which is the 50 EMA, and then we could push for 360 again. As of right now, we're kind of choppy, kind of flat, and there is a risk of downside if we do break below 357.5, so watch that very carefully. Now for Nvidia, got a nice pump during the pre-market, but Nvidia ended up coming down. I was anticipating it would come down, and I was hoping for a nice bounce afterwards, but it's not bouncing quite yet because the market is weakening alongside Apple, so there could be a risk of downside. So for Nvidia, we're going to be watching 432 as key resistance. This is a small resistance at the 20 EMA. If it breaks this, I could see it going for 435. That's the next kind of tight resistance at this imbalance. Then we have 438, 440, and 442 as some resistance levels. Now, the trend on Nvidia on the 30 minutes time frame has been a bit more bearish, and we're going to be watching the 50 EMA as key support at 428. If we lose 428 on Nvidia, it could come all the way down to 425 all over again. So we're going to be watching these levels after the auction data comes out. So at 1 o'clock p.m., the data comes out for the last piece of data of the day. And we're going to be watching to see how this affects Nvidia. There is a risk of downside for the markets, so just be very careful, guys, and make sure you watch these supports very, very carefully, especially on Tesla. The market is not broken down just yet, so don't assume it's going to do that with high certainty. We have to wait and see the data first and see how this moves. And once again, like I said earlier, even if Tesla in the market cools off, it's not the end of the world because the inverse head and shoulders could still be valid as long as we hold above 210 on Tesla. As long as SPY holds above 420, we're going to be fine. So unless we lose those key supports, unless Tesla breaks below like 208 to 210, unless SPY breaks below 420, we're going to be fine even if we do drop just a little bit. All right, so we're going to be watching these levels very carefully. And then don't forget, guys, we have Microsoft's earnings coming out later on after the market closes alongside Google/Alphabet. So that's also going to be very important. So be prepared for all of that. That's going to be coming out after the market closes. So watch these levels, guys, and do what you have to do. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks again. I'll see you guys very soon. Have a very, very great day, and peace out.